What's good, guys? LM7 here, back with more comparisons, this time for one of the more anticipated of the 5 comparisons for this summer 2016 wave. We're going to be looking at the Clone Turbo Tank. Alright, so as you can see, there is an older version of the Clone Turbo Tank, which came out in 2010, so it's been a good 6 years since we've gotten one, and I guess it's about time we get another one. And like I said in my review, I do really like the new Turbo Tank. So, anyway, on to a couple little specifications. The old Turbo Tank has 1,100 and some odd pieces. I don't remember the exact number. As soon as I'm done with this video, of course, I'll remember it. But, right now, for the life of me, I couldn't. And was $120, while the new Turbo Tank is 903 pieces and $110. Excuse me. So, the old Turbo Tank has about 200-ish pieces, maybe 180, 190 more pieces, and costs $10 more. So this is the first time we've seen a comparison where there is a decrease of pieces and price. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. Personally, I like getting sets cheaper. But that's just me. Anyway, so looking at it this way, you might think that the old Turbo Tank is a monster compared to the newer one. And that's just because of the way I have it set up right now, just so you can see both of them in their, in more full than you would if I had them facing both forward. And we'll get to that in just a second. So, before we look at some of the finer details, I just want to point out that they both have handles. And let's take a quick look at the handles real quick. That was redundant as redundant. So, you can see this handle is all Technic pins and a Technic beam. This is the newer one, by the way. So it's all Technic, where the older one is a little more, I want to say it's a little more basic, a little more primal even, because it's pretty much just a big brick with a Technic pin right here. But that's also because this can be lifted up by the dropship from, 7,000 years ago as well. But I personally like the way that they changed the handle. This one's sometimes kind of hard to lift, especially because I have to lift it on the brick. Because who wants to lift it up on these two little Technic pegs? That's kind of hard to do, especially without knocking things off of the set itself. So that's one difference. And one thing that they already improved on is the carrying mechanism. And in retrospect, you can just take both of these tanks and pick them up by the sides or underneath the wheels like this and pick them up. It makes no difference. They're both sturdy enough to do that type of thing. This one's a little bigger, so it's a little harder to do. And ooh, spoiler, the old one's a little bigger. You already probably knew that from any type of pictures at all. But let's get into some of the details now. So, I'm going to start off with a super obvious detail. And we can see by looking, this piece is the same on both the wheels, but you can see that the wheel pieces are different. This wheel, the dark gray, barely shows, from looking at it directly sideways, whereas the other one, the wheels are much larger than the, I think it's an 8x8 parabola. So, or dish, that's what I meant to say, dish. Whatever. Anyway, the wheels are a lot bigger, and that gives the new Turbo Tank a little bit more height over the, or it gives the older Turbo Tank a little more height over the newer one, is what I meant to say. Don't quote me. I'm bad. I know. Anyway, that's that. Just out of the way. The old Turbo Tank also uses 2 pieces to make up the section of the wheel, where the new one is just the singular wheel piece. Like, this is its own piece. There's only one part to it. And then the the like hubcap goes over the top of it. So, alrighty. Let's face them both forward so we can see some size differences. Okay, just making sure they both look approximately the same. So, looking at them this way, you can see that the new turbo tank is shorter than the old one. Like, here's the top of the new one, and the old one is, you know, a good half an inch taller. And like I said, that's mostly due to the wheels, not so much the actual build of the set, even though the set itself is bigger. And I'll get to that in just a second, what I mean by that. And it's hard to kind of tell from here, but the older one is longer. So to show that, I like that they're on wheels, so I can actually just move them nicely. If we put the older one like so, try and center it a little better, and then put the newer one the same length, you can see that the older one is, oops, didn't mean to do that, the older one is longer as well. And that's maybe an inch, maybe an inch and a quarter. So it's not really that much bigger when it comes to that. So lengthwise it's not much bigger, but now you can tell the actual height difference, because you can see completely over the top of this turbo tank. You can see all of this on the older one there. So that is a obvious difference. But like I said, you see the little bit of the wheel here and the guns go past, but there isn't too much space. But that's to be understood, because they completely redid the turbo tank. The only thing they really kept, like exactly the same build wise, is the axles. They really kept those the same. And granted, those have even been changed to a degree. So I better be careful. I might roll this thing right off the table here. So let us look at the front of the set here. Now this is the old turbo tank. So you can see it has three 2x1 tiles for glass, or for the illusion of glass, on each of the three sides here. And then this plate is a 4x6, and this plate is pretty big. That's a pretty big area. Like, the head section of the turbo tank is, for this one, it's a pretty large area. So, and just while we do that too, we can open up all four sides just to show the inside of the tank. And this isn't a review, I'm just quickly showing what it looks like on the inside. If you want the review, you can watch it, but that was a long time ago. So looking at the newer one, please stop shooting those missiles, that's annoying. Looking at it the same way, we still have three on the front here, but now they've shrunk it to where there's only two glass tiles around the sides now. So it's automatically two studs shorter, and then there's two more studs. That's the same. So basically they took two studs off the front here and said goodbye. And in return, that makes this top section smaller. This is actually pretty close to the same size. It is a 4x6 plate, and this is a 4x6 plate. This is actually smooth on the older one if we look. If we keep them like this, you can see that this is smooth here, and then this one is not, and even has this little red coloring. And that's due to the fact that this is a Clone Wars set, and this is a more Episode 3 variant of the turbo tank. So, oh yeah, and the new turbo tank also has the same obvious opening features, except for the fact that these don't, well, they actually open about the same as the other one. But the inside is much different. As you can see, there's a lot of color in this one, and that's just due to the Technic stuff on the inside, which we will take a look at shortly. So, the last thing about the front I wanted to mention is the guns. If we look at the guns, if I just angle them downward a little bit, just so we can see the full guns. The old turbo tank has, they both have 4 guns on the front. And when I say 4, they're 2 sections of 2, like this. Well, the old one, each one of the guns is on a battle droid arm, or a robot arm, whatever you want to call it. And they can move independently, and they use a bigger rod just to make the length bigger. And they're spaced out a lot farther apart. Like, you can see when I lift them up, they're past like the width of the head here, where this one, if you lift them up, they're right under the nose of the ship, of the tank. I said ship, whatever. It's a tank. Anyway, this one is a little more accurate for the size of the gun, like the length of the guns, and then the placement. The other one is just big. Not that it's terrible, it's just big. And don't get me wrong, I love the old turbo tank. It's one of my favorite sets from, you know, years ago. It's just, it needed an upgrade. Granted, some people are angry it's smaller, whatever, I'll get to that at the end. But yeah, the guns have changed slightly. They've shortened the guns to make them a little more accurate, made them sturdy by adding this Technic plate right here that I'm touching, so they don't move independently, because they don't. And then they put them completely underneath the tank themselves. Like these, you can angle them upwards, and that's weird. Personally, I angle them completely downwards when I store it, just so when I walk by the shelf, I don't, like, clip the whole front of the tank off. So, the last thing that I want to mention is the little lights here. They're clear on this tank, and then they're yellow, and only one here. And they both have lights on the top. I do like the addition of the second light on here. Like, this has 1 light here, so there's 4 total, and then there's 8 total on the newer one. And they took this little radar dish off of the newer one as well. So, moving on to the features on the top of the tank, and the side. I guess we'll just look at the features at the top and the side here. Might as well. So this one is a flick fire missile that no one really likes to shoot, because then it's an ugly looking missile. And then here's the side detail. It's a big panel, basically, with clips right here to keep the panel in place. And if I roll this one over here real quick, and we look at the other one, they replaced the flick fire missile with a more standard looking cannon. Like, someone could like hold this cannon and shoot it. This is an addition. It's not on the older one, and that's actually a feature now, which the older one doesn't have. And I'll show the middle in just a second. I'm getting there. The older turbo tank is also slightly inaccurate. The fact that it doesn't have missiles on the side here, where the newer one actually rectifies that problem and adds 4 spring-loaded shooters. And that's always nice. These are actually the same design-wise, but they use much different pieces just because of the size differences. But there's still the same basic shape. Anyway. And then this is more studded. Like, the whole entire side plate here is way more studded than the other one. And I wanted to mention, if we hold the tank like this, there's a lot more, I just think it looks a lot more detailed on the newer one than the older one, which is basically just a bunch of huge studless plates. So I do like that regard, that the newer one has a bit more detail to it. Okay, so now let's look on the inside of the tank here. So the older one, you have to open this up, and I will open up both sides just for fun. Just for fun. So on each of these sides, you have an opening plate, and then this one you have the little mini walker, and we will compare the little mini walkers in a minute. So I'll put that out to that side, and then the old one you also get this little command center, which you do not get on the newer one. But you can see there's, it's a pretty big space in here with, a whole bunch of yellow, which is kind of ugly. But on the newer one, they changed that slightly. And now the ATRT actually sits in the middle of the tank instead of on the side. It's kind of weird that they had it on the side, but it's a cool feature. This one's just a slightly more accurate, how you'd actually carry a walker inside a tank. And we'll take the little walker out, and we'll we'll show him. We'll give him some love. And that'll be like the little last thing we do. Let's compare the walkers. You can actually see them there in the background. But basically, they, instead of being studs facing this way in the older one, they tiled it off this way, horizontal instead of vertical, and added this little gear section which allows you to raise the lookout post, which is actually accurate for a turbo tank, and the other one does not have it. It's just not at all included in the set whatsoever. So that's just a quick look at the insides. Another noticeable difference is that these side panels on this one do not open when you open the middle, whereas this one the side panels do open because they're all connected. And then there's a more spring-loaded shooters on each side of the panel here. And as I say that, I shoot it. I'll have to get that later. Lovely. So that is that. Now if we move our lovely new turbo tank away for just a little bit, we can show the back detail here. This does open, but there's no purpose to actually opening this little section here, and this does open too, but there's really no purpose to doing so. So just looking at this back detail real quick, we have this spinnable gun which someone can sit in. We have this sticker detail here, and then this detail right here, which I always really did like. Now if we look at the newer one, this plate has been shortened. It is now, how big is the other one? 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9 tall, whereas this one is 7 tall. So they've shrunk it by 2 studs vertically and horizontally. And then this piece is slightly different. They changed the design pattern on it. I gotta say I like the older one's design pattern a little better, but that's okay. This is more studded. I like the studded look better than the big gaps of no studs, personally. But that's all preference, again. So, and then right here we have this detail, which is slightly different than the last one. That last one was all light gray detail. This one's all dark gray detail right here. And then you can open it up on both sides, just like the other one. The other one actually has a gun rack where this one stores crates, but just to show that you can open both, they do both open there as well. And then, I forgot to mention it, they removed the sticker detail here and added this gun instead, which is just 2 stud shooters. So you can't actually place a minifigure there anymore, but it's around the same size. But let's look at this other side here, and we'll do them both at the same time. Just by going like this. So you can just see the size difference in the back section here. And it does open, just as you would expect it to. The sides don't actually open on this one, but that is the opening sections. They both, you know, have that obvious same feature. You can just see the size difference. This one's a little more compact, but I feel like, I don't know. I don't know. I just like the newer one a little better, to be honest. It, you know, like there's plates everywhere, so you don't have to worry about minifigures falling through the bottom. Granted, this one can, the newer one can only fit 1 minifigure in the back, where the older one can fit 2 minifigures in the back. That's always nice. More space. More seating arrangements is always nice. But, that is it for the details side of the turbo tanks. I will now, god dang it. That whole side is just gone. I'll forget that one too. I'm just going to take these out, just so I don't lose them. But anyway, now let me show the axles. This is the new axle of the turbo tank. It's basically the same thing. Basically. If we look at the older one, it's basically the same thing, just slightly larger pieces to accommodate the fact that you're using bigger wheels. That's what I was trying to say. I'm trying to make this not look so goony. But anyway, that is that thing out of the way as well. And that's basically it for both the turbo tanks. Pretty much looked at everything. So when I said they completely remodeled the set, they basically did so. Like they're two totally different sets, even though they're based on the same vehicle. Now I know they're kind of off here on the side, and I did that on purpose, just so we can look at the little walkers. Because both turbo tanks do include a mini ATRT or Clone Scout Walker. So this is the old turbo tanks one. Looks very nice. The bright green is a little interesting though. I have to say I prefer the new turbo tank's darker green, or kind of, I don't know, it's not darker green, it's more like less bright. So a duller green, that's what I was going for. But they both use, gray accents and all that fun stuff. This one has a stud shooter on the front where the other one does not. The other one's just a normal cannon. But they both kind of have the same look. This one does not have the little antenna relay on the back, and their feet are different. The newer one actually has bigger feet, which is nice, so it doesn't fall over as much. And the legs are actually built slightly different. If we take a look like this, the newer one has slightly sturdier legs. At least that's my opinion, anyway. And like I said in my review, the newer one's more like a Transformer than it is an ATRT. But anyway, they both have nice minifigures as a bonus too. The old turbo tank came with Cad Bane for whatever reason. But it did come with Aya Sakura, and that's, I think it's the only way to get her as of now. I don't remember any other sets having her. So the old turbo tank was good in that regard, and the new turbo tank has Episode 3 versions of Luminera and Quinlan Voss. So if you're looking for one or the other, it depends on which Jedi minifigure you want. The new one does come with Commander Gree as well, and I really like his printing, as I stated in that review. But that is it for our comparison of the lovely Clone Turbo tanks. In my personal opinion, I love the old one. It's a fantastic set. But the new one is slightly better. It is smaller and less pieces, but that does make it cheaper, so that's a plus. And just overall, it just fits together nicer. It's like when they took that first 2008 ATTE and then remade it in 2013, just all the armor platings fit better, and it just, I don't know, just overall the feel was better, like they've adapted, like they saw the gaps and platings and all that stuff and they wanted to fix it, and then they did. That's pretty much what happens for the turbo tanks here. So regardless of if you have the old one or not, I say get the new one as well. They work nicely together. I don't know, you can make the newer one a bigger mobile command station where the older one, because it's bigger, and like the newer one you can make as like just a full attacking vehicle. I don't know. I don't care what you do with your own stuff. But both sets are very nice and both worth the money they ask for, and it will not affect you at all to get both of them. Like some sets you just don't need a second one, but I don't know. The Clone Turbo Tank's very nice. And like I mentioned in like the mid section, the older one's a Clone Wars set and the new one is more Episode 3 version. So if you're more a fan of the realistic vehicles, then obviously pick up this new one. But if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, comment, tell me what you think. Tell me your opinions on the new turbo tanks, or in whatever else you want to talk about. And then stick around for the last comparison, which will be the new ATTE with the 2013 ATTE. Other than that, I will see you guys later.